We are so close. So close to hitting our milestone of 600 subscribers. Just one more subscriber away and then I'm going to review Anne of Green Gables. So, here's the thing. Once we get 600 subscribers, I will finally review the movie this Anne of Green Gables' animated series movie. So please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button so I can review this movie sooner rather than later. Now, let's talk about this video. So apparently in today's video, I'm going to review lots of Fireman Sam episodes, but I'm going to talk about Norman's crimes. And now I'm not going to charge him for it, or maybe I might charge him for his crimes again, but I am going to be ranking all his crimes on a tier list. F tier will be just a harmless prank or being rude to someone, and S tier will be a crime that Norman deserves to go to jail for. So please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, as I said, so I can review Anne of Green Gables. Please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Sorry, I said please so I can't be rude. Without wasting any more time, let's dive right in.
Use the brakes! What brakes?
So in the episode Floating Car, Norman Price goes around Ponty Pandy stealing stuff and committing theft. He steals wooden wheel blocks in Mike's van, he steals the fire brigade dummy, he also steals rope from Charlie's boat, and then recklessly crashes his go-kart into the sea. When the firemen have to rescue him, he states that he won't do it again. As if we can trust Norman. Who can anyways? At least Sam didn't accept his apology. Finally. Well, if sorry's enough this time, then how come sorry isn't enough for trapping James in the cave and putting his life in danger? Also, why the heck would his friends listen to him? Don't they know the dinosaurs are extinct? Maybe we'll get to this soon. But what I think of this episode is that Norman was pretty reckless, and this episode is just an episode that shows Norman at his absolute worst. No, this is not one of Norman's worst episodes. But he goes around Ponty Pandy stealing everything and then crashes his go-kart into the sea carelessly. Now, he didn't accept his apology after committing theft, and what I didn't mention is, Mike's van nearly crashed into Trevor's bus because Norman stole the wooden wheel blocks. Luckily, Mike stopped the bus. So in my opinion, Norman's floating car crime deserves to go into the B tier of Norman's crimes. Now let's take a look into the episode Moddel Plane, where Norman manipulates his friend James into flying a plane everywhere and making the plane cause havoc on Ponty Pandy. Still gets both of them kicked out. And Norman says that a real friend won't fly his paper aeroplane. No, repeat. Norman says that if James was his real friend, then he will let him fly in it. Let me repeat again. Norman says James would fly the aeroplane if they were really friends. And not only Norman steals the logs, which is theft, but he puts James in danger, which is reckless endangerment. He gets James stuck up in a tree.
Oh, why do I ever listen to you, Norman?
I don't know, James. Well, how about you stop listening to him then? Why do you always keep listening to Norman? Why is it only now that you ask Norman why you ever listen to him? And the next day you listen to him again, James. So I feel like Norman's paper aeroplane crime deserves to go into the... So I feel it's possible to put his crime in B tier. Just like the floating car crime. Now let's get straight into the next crime. We shall charge Norman and Derek, both of them, for underage driving and theft at the same time. The two could have crashed the fire engine in the sea and almost some streetlights in the process. Seriously. This is one of Norman's worst crimes because that kid commits underage driving and theft at the same time. And I honestly think this crime deserves to go at... I was going to say B tier, but now I was thinking of putting it in A tier. Just letting you know that was an advert. But I still want to summarize this crime as Norman didn't even get punished. Like, Dyllis, this is not the right time to call Norman Mummy's little darling. He just stole a fire engine and commits underage driving. And trespassing too. How many crimes did he commit? Theft, underage driving, trespassing. Norman even admits that he was not very clever driving off Jupiter. Then he apologizes to Sam not once but twice. Here's the clips.
I'm sorry, Fireman Sam. Sam, I'm sorry.
But we all know sorry isn't enough. So Norman Price, can you stop faking your apology, please? Now that we got that crime in A tier, I feel like talking about another crime. Now we're basically heading to more arson from Norman. He literally let a sky lantern go and nearly burnt down the forest in the episode Sky Lanterns.
Norman Price! Well, it just slipped out of my fingers, but isn't it beautiful?
Not only that, but Norman Price lies about it and says that he did it by accident and not on purpose, when we all know that he let the sky lantern go on purpose. He literally nearly burns down the forest and could have almost caused another great fire of Ponty Pandy in the process. He literally caused a forest fire. And the only punishment he gets is it's no thanks to you, Norman, for nearly burning down the forest for Mrs. Chen.
No, Norman. You're just going to be watching after the trouble you've caused.
That's what he deserves. Honestly, I'm going to put Norman's Sky Lantern crime at A tier because that's starting a fire and nearly burning down the forest. Now let's go on into the next bad thing Norman's done.
Exactly what we're going to do. Not if I can help it. Oh, look at that bird. It's as big as a pterodactyl. Okay, Norman Price.
Norman even goes as far as to lie to everybody and say that what he did was an accident when what he did was on purpose. Anyways, in this episode, called Lighthouse Lockout, which I reviewed, he locks everybody in a lighthouse just so he can avoid cleaning Mike's van. Which, keep in mind, he destroyed. Norman usually has his fake oopsies when he does something on purpose, and then he lies to everybody and says it was an accident, just like what happened in the Sky Lantern episode. Honestly, Norman did deserve to get punished, and basically that was the right punishment he deserved to get. Cleaning every single vehicle in Ponty Pandy. Seriously, the thing with Norman Price is that he's so naughty that no one punishes him. His Lighthouse Lockout crime was so bad, and honestly, he rightfully got punished, and that's all I say. His Lighthouse Lockout crime was so bad. And he apologizes to Fireman Sam and goes as far as to faking his apology. Sometimes I think that maybe Norman should apologize, or maybe he should stop apologizing. But for this crime, I feel it's fair to put this Lighthouse Lockout crime in probably B tier, honestly. Now, let's get straight into the next crime Norman Price has committed. Now we're going to take a look into the Fireman Sam episode titled Lily Lost and Found, where Norman endangers Lily, who, keep in mind, is basically the only toddler in Ponty Pandy. I mean, we've seen brats be rude to babies or toddlers. We've seen brats like Thomas kick babies in the head, step on them. We've seen brats pinch babies. We've seen brats bully babies. We've seen brats hit babies. I haven't reviewed this episode, so I feel it's good to review it now. Let's compare this to the episode Rosie Bobber's Caillou, because this is basically Rosie Bobber's Caillou, but instead of Rosie bothering Caillou, this is Lily Bobber's Norman. Because he keeps acting all sensitive because Lily keeps bothering him and annoying him. Heck, he even goes as far as to having the naughty idea of giving her a sausage so he can run away behind her back. She then runs over and then chases Norman, and then apparently she gets herself stuck on a sandbank during the Ponty Pandy beach picnic. This is basically just as bad as Rosie Bobber's Caillou, considering that Caillou pushed his sister and kicked her out of his room, and then Norman Price had a sneaky idea of giving her a sausage so he can run away behind her back. And I honestly think this crime has to go at C tier, because this isn't a very big crime. It's not even a crime at all. Now let's take a look into the infamous season 11 episode titled Night of the Norman. Norman Price watches a scary zombie movie with his cousin Derek, scares him in his little Red Riding Hood cosplay, and then manipulates him into watching the scary movie by telling him he's too scared to. Not this stuff again. This happened in the Dinosaur Footprints episode. But not only that, but even worse, he kept a secret from his own mom and lied to her and said he wasn't watching a scary movie. You're not supposed to keep secrets from your parents, Norman. Or your parent in this case. Because Norman never had a dad seeing the show. Maybe that could be why he acts the way he does. Not only that, but he also locked Mandy in her room, and then he ran downstairs and shot a flare into the house, or the laundry basket, and then caused a fire while she was locked in her room. This is so bad. Also, why would Dyllis send her son out unsupervised? So, honestly, I'm going to actually put Norman's flare crime into the A tier of crimes, because that's one of his worst. Now we are talking about the classic series, Season 5. And just to let you know, we're also talking about his crimes in the classic series. Not all of his crimes in the classic series were harmless. In the infamous episode Fit for Nothing, Norman trespasses into the fire station, and then he hurts Elvis. Not once, but twice. He hurts him on the treadmill and makes him go flying, and Elvis could have almost hit his head. If Norman did that to me, I couldn't handle the pain. So, I was thinking of putting this crime in S tier, and also Norman's Skylance and crime can now go to S tier probably. Now let's talk about the episode The Best Sleepover Ever, or The Worst Sleepover Ever, more like. Because apparently Norman puts a sandwich in the toaster in Mandy's house and almost burns it down again. He literally nearly burns down Mandy's house. He then apologizes as a way to get out of being disciplined. The only punishment he got for nearly destroying Mandy's house was everyone laughing at his cuddly sheep pajamas that he clearly threw out the window. Honestly, I'm going to put Norman's burning Mandy's house crime in B tier. The flare incident is A tier because that's a worse burning down Mandy's house. Now let's charge him in the episode Blast from the Past, where we can see this lad wants to be the star of a play, so him and James get into a fight, and then they mess with the lights, causing the lights to nearly burn down the whole stage. Norman says that what he did was a disaster.
Out with James's lighting.
But he didn't seem to know that I was the star of the show.
The star of the show doesn't usually burn the theatre down, Norman.
Yeah, matey. And star of the show, I've heard that in Froggy Fantasy. I'll be talking about that crime after this. This crime is basically A tier because Norman nearly burned down the stage. Now let's get into the Froggy Fantasy crime. This crime has got to be one of Norman's worst crimes as he locks James in the changing room like a bully and then puts James's life in danger as usual, which is basically reckless endangerment. Not only that, but Norman also decides to commit arson, and this arsonist decides to commit arson by nearly burning down the swimming pool. How can you burn down a swimming pool? Well, here's the thing. He burned down the lily pads and he also burned down the changing rooms. Locking James in the changing room was being a bully and rude. And not letting James be the star of the show is selfish. His mother was watching them at the play. Why couldn't she just ground Norman? Heck, the brat commits arson and reckless endangerment. He's so bad that this crime is going in A tier. Very reckless and selfish of Norman to do what he did. Now let's dive into the season 5 episode titled The Big Freeze, when Norman the arsonist decides to throw his electric blanket on the floor. He doesn't even pull a "I'm sorry, Fireman, Sam," because it was apparently Dyllis' fault. No wonder why Norman acts the way he does. Because of his mom. She always causes fires. He also trespasses into the fire station, throws his electric blanket on the floor, and lets it nearly burn down his bedroom. No discipline, no yelling, no scolding, no timeout, no grounding for a week. Just, it was Dyllis' fault. Because of course it has to be Dyllis' fault. It's Norman's fault too. Maybe it's no wonder why Norman acts the way he does. The problem with cartoon characters is that they act the way they do because of bad parenting. I don't have a picture on the electric blanket crime, but I feel it's better to put it in C tier. Now let's talk about the infamous episode of The Great Billboard of Fire, where not only Norman runs in the middle of the road dangerously, but he also uncouples the billboard and lets it cause a fire. He lets it roll down the hill, cause havoc on Ponty Pandy, and start an actual fire. Norman gets away with it. The problem with cartoon characters is that they never get disciplined. So they act the way they do because they think that acting the way they do is something they can do. This crime has got to go in A tier. Now let's dive into one of Norman's worst episodes titled The One That Got Away, where he steals frozen fish from his mom's shop and then pretends he caught a fish with them. He even goes as far as to hurting a whale. Yes, he hurts a whale out of all things. Just so he can catch it and have it for dinner. You do know animals get hurt besides people, Norman. Norman, hurting a whale was very bad, matey. And honestly, Norman didn't even get punished. This episode teaches you that you're allowed to hurt a whale, and your mom will just laugh it off. This is honestly kind of similar to the episode LBB is having a tea party, except Norman makes LBB look harmless in comparison as he hurts a whale. Also, I haven't done an LBB can bite his tongue video in a while, because I've been more interested in doing Norman can take a hike videos. Plus, the reason why my Hongshi video was deleted, it was because it got blocked due to copyright. Also, just like Dyllis, the parents in LBB are pushovers. This episode teaches kids that you're allowed to steal. You're allowed to lie to your parents. And they'll just laugh it off. That is something you can do, says the episode. But stealing is something you can't do. You cannot steal, it's wrong. And lying is also wrong. So please, don't lie. That should be the moral. Stealing is something you can't do. Sorry for saying it's something you can do. We all know where hitting the whale using the boat goes. I had to put it there because I love talking about that episode. Now we have the infamous movie Alien Alert. I'm supposed to be talking about 20 crimes, so I'm going to use these as honorable mentions alongside other honorable mentions. Dragging Sarah's arm down a cliff, S tier. Sneaking out of the house while grounded, B tier. Nearly burning down Ponty Pandy Island, A tier or S tier. Putting Sarah in danger by getting her stuck up in the tree when he convinced her to grab that kite. Stealing a horse, A tier or B tier, A tier. Firey football. Norman rudely splatters pizza all over Charlie and Bronwyn's faces, and then he nearly burns down the grass. B tier. Kidnapping or penguin napping a penguin and taking it to his room. C tier. Now let's get straight into more crimes that aren't honorable mentions. Let's dive right into the Season 7 episode titled Fireworks for Mandy. This episode, Norman, being naughty, convinces Mandy to set off a flare they found. But Mandy won't set the flare off. But Norman tells her she's too scared to. Oh no, not this stuff again. This happened in the episode's Night of the Norman and Dinosaur Hunt. But the thing is, Norman didn't cause anyone to be in danger or fires or anything bad. He just convinced her to set the flare off.
All I have to do is push this button.
Go on, Mandy. Do it.
No.
You can't do it. You're scared.
But of course, Mandy doesn't care if Norman wanted to set off the flare. And honestly, who would blame Mandy for not caring? This crime has gotta probably go in D tier because it's not even a crime. Now we got 3 more crimes to talk about. Oh, Return of the Norman Man. Not only does he put himself in danger twice, but he also steals a jetpack. Then he starts the train, and then we can basically charge him for causing a fire, stealing a jetpack, and starting the train. The fire was so big, and he actually nearly burned down the train. And he doesn't get punished for it. That's the problem with Norman. If you punish him, then he will learn. But this lad never gets punished, so why doesn't Norman ever learn? Well, for one, his mom also causes fires, and 2, the way he acts the way he the reason why he acts the way he does is because of his mom. This Norman Man crime is one of the worst. He didn't even get a small, teeny, weeny, itsy, bitsy, little warning. Especially not a big warning. This crime is going in the S tier. Now let's dive into the infamous episode Dyllys Forgetful Day. And also, everyone, including Google, says that Dyllis knocked herself out. This honestly makes me frustrated with anger as it's Norman's fault. He was the one that knocked her out. He should have gotten punished. It wouldn't have happened if Dyllis was paying attention to him and talking to him. Then he scared her and she got knocked out. It's Norman's fault. This is the worst thing he's done in the classic series. Not only that, but he lied to her and said she was Bella. No one's thinking that this is naughty Norman. They just think that Dyllis knocked herself out. So I guess knocking his mom out has got to be an A tier. Or maybe even S tier. One of those tiers. I want to give an honourable mention to the episode Spy Games where Norman ties his best friend James up in a chair. And why does James still listen to Norman? That episode probably deserves to go in A tier. And also Dinosaur Hunt goes in B tier because Norman endangered James's life. Seriously, James, why the heck do you listen to Norman? It's pretty dumb and stupid for James to listen to Norman Price when dinosaurs don't even exist. Oh, I guess I'm bullying James. Calling someone stupid is disrespectful. It's not nice to call James stupid, but I was just saying that James is not clever because he listens to Norman. Now let's talk about the worst crime Norman's ever committed. The worst crime he's ever done in the CGI series. Probably a crime so big that he's probably going to make this become legendary in the Book of Brats. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. The Great Fire of Ponty Pandy. The Great Fire of Ponty Pandy. It's all Norman's fault. This kid, if it wasn't for that rainstorm, then Ponty Pandy would have been destroyed thanks to Norman Price. It's like Norman nearly burned down a whole entire village. Norman almost destroyed the village. No one also stealing sausages from his mom's shop counts as bad. Because this little criminal was told not to make a campfire in the bushes. But Norman, being Norman, decides to make a campfire in the bushes with Derek, aka his partner in crime, Peter, and Perfect Peter. Seriously, Norman destroys the village and then, you know what punishment he gets? Not getting his pioneer badge. Burning down the whole village was bad. Ugh, great fires of Ponty Pandy. I have no choice but to put this not an A tier, but an S tier. Now I'm going to probably make a song about Norman. This was a trend I've got on the channel. Who's the naughtiest boy in Bratsville? It's Norman Price. Norman Price. And that's the end of the video. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope we get one more subscriber and then I'll finally review the abomination of the movie that is Anne of Green Gables. It's an animated movie. Haha, funny enough. And also, comment down below what other cartoons you want me to talk about and whatever episodes of Fireman Sam or Royce Bedoyce or LVB or Thomas Daly or any other suggestions you've got in mind. Now, without wasting any more time, I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.